Moshe. We take, as Jews, 3 steps forward. We bow. And we begin what? And when we bow and we're davening Shemona Esrei, what direction are we facing? When you're in Yerushalayim, what direction are you facing? And if you're there at the Kotel, what direction are you mentally thinking? When you do this and you connect to the Creator of the universe, you are the most privileged people. We are the most privileged people. We connect to an all-knowing God as our King, but also as our Abba. It's an amazing thought if you come from a world, as I came from, where that was not a possibility. You see, we have ancestors. We know we go back to Avram Avinu. We know where we came from. A goy doesn't. Think about it. They're here. They live their life. Poof. They're gone. So their purpose comes from a totally different place from our purpose. I came from a world, as this gentleman that your teacher was reading about came from. Any of you know Sarah Palin, of what's going on in America, in the political world, this cutesy little lady that's out there telling her story? She is a fundamentalist Christian. And that's the world that I come from. I have been converted for the last 18 years. I'm an Orthodox Jew, living as an Orthodox Jew, Baruch Hashem. But I came from a world that, as I'm sitting here looking at you, I'm thinking, how can I give you a picture? How can I give you glasses to put on so that you could maybe have a little glimpse into my world to understand? It says what? Pink? Okay. Look at that twice. That you could have a little glimpse into my world to understand what it's like to make a choice, a responsible choice to say, you know what? I want to be Jewish. I want to leave all this goyishness, and especially if you come from a waspy kind of background. And I want what the Jewish people have. I want to be the apple of Hashem's eye. I want that intimacy that I see they have, and a connection over generation, generation. And the roots that they have that grounds the Jewish people, that we can never be destroyed. That's what I decided. So my background of my growing up years, my father was in the military, so I traveled a lot overseas as a kid growing up. And what do you learn about Christianity when you're in different bases, army bases, or in different countries? It's very nebulous. It's nothing that you really can hold on to. But in my young 20s, I ended up getting involved in Fundamentalist Christian Church and decided, oh, great. I'm a zealot. I can, be a part of this. I'm going to be a fundamentalist Christian. That's what I'm going to be. And I'm going to learn, and I'm going to understand what my Bible has to say. And excuse my terminology, but I'm going to speak very, Christianity has its own lingo. Just like when I'm around any of my friends in America, if I happen to go back to visit my family, it's very difficult to keep out the Hebrew words from my sentences, and they're just like totally befuddled. So, but I want to get you into this. I idea of being not where you're sitting today. I'm going to try and put you into another seat of somebody else's shoes to look at yourself from somebody else's point of view. So I studied. I studied for 20 years. I was a zealot. I studied a lot about all that my limited Bible had to offer me. You know, they have a New Testament that says all about the Yoshki, all about the Jesus stuff. And then they've got the Old Testament, because, I mean, let's face it, they're old and new. That's all they pretty much have. And very well educated in it. But I always loved what they call the Old Testament better. Why? Because I love the Jewish people. I love the stories of that. You know, they have the story of Abraham and okay, I have to think in English, Isaac and Jacob. Thank you. Right. Okay, so they have all these stories, and you know, I learned these stories, and I thought, wow, I mean, these people lived like this. They gave their lives to God, and I want to be able to do that. And it was always about how God dealt with the Jewish people. How did he deal? You know, sometimes because of our stiff neck, we get a little potch and or a big potch, or sometimes the love would be there and the promises that you will inherit, you will inherit, you will inherit. And I thought, oh, this is what I want in my life. But I thought I was trying to get that through the Christian path that I was on. So I got married, I had family, I lived in the Pacific Northwest of America, and California. That's where my family ended up in the end after many years of traveling around the world. And so then I started having problems with the text. You know, this is the hardest thing for Jews to understand. Goyim don't question text. You just are told to believe it. Believe it. Why do I want to believe it? Because this is like what you do. You just believe it. Don't ask questions. So when they saw me coming, it wasn't such a happy experience for the teacher, because I always had questions. So as the years went on, I wasn't getting any answers, you know, like this woman's story, mine was totally different. There were no answers that satisfied me. They were superficial answers, and they didn't even know what they were talking about. I could tell, and as I got older, I realized more and more I could see. So in my life in the Christian world, I spent quite a few years in politics. And that's my connection with Sarah Palin. Only 20 years later. I'm 61. She's in her 40s, so it's different. But very zealous for what they call in those days the moral majority, the family-valued part of Christianity. So I lobbied in D.C., and I was very involved in all the political issues with family values. And one day I remember seeing, you guys know who the Kennedys are, right? Everybody knows who the Kennedys are. It's our royalty of America, I guess you would have to say, God help us. But so I saw Ted Kennedy, who I think, yeah, he's no longer with us, walk across the Senate floor holding the back seat of each chair as he walked by, because he was so bombed and his face was so red that he could not hold himself up. This is a senator of the United States down on the Senate floor.
Bombed means drunk.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we have a lot of Israeli.
Bombed, drunk, yes, very drunk. And I thought, what am I doing here? This is a joke. This is a joke. So you find out very quickly that politics is a joke. If I'm sure this generation doesn't know the Keystone Cops, but in my day, there were these cartoon characters that ran around. They were always bumping into walls, and they were bumping into this and bumping into that, and everyone just thought, you know, it's so funny, ha ha ha. Well, this was the Senate floor. This is what I was seeing. And I thought, you know what? I'm finished here. So my political career was gone, and my Christianity I was moving away from, and I started, in those days, there was a movement called Learning about the Jewish Roots of Christianity. You see, Christians want to be connected to Judaism because we're the only ones that have anything that's connecting us. So if they can't be Jews, they at least want to be Christians that have Jewish values. Now, think about that. If you are a thinking person, you realize it doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't even make any sense. But that's the way when you're a lost person or a floating person. That's what you come down to. So I started studying the Jewish roots of Christianity and realized, oh, we have problems. History. Oh, the Christians did what? They had crusades, they had the Holocaust, pogroms. My gosh, what happened to these holy people? Who is really holy here? So I had to start thinking about this and realizing what was, you see, Christians don't study history. They don't know the history of the church. They don't even know the history of who they believe. They don't even know the history of why they believe what they believe. It's just inconceivable to a Jewish mind to be able to be so gullible. So what I realized is, because in my life and growing up in my home, my father was a spy. He was an American spy. So what did we learn in our home? We learned to question things. You have to question. You have to understand that what you hear on the media is brainwashing. It's not what's really going on. You're not listening to facts. You're not reading facts in the newspaper. You have to understand that unless you have the glasses of Torah on and you're looking through life from the grounding of Torah, everything you're hearing from the media, from the secular world, is used to manipulate you to get you into a certain place so they can work with you the way they want to. I'm not saying anything new to, if I was talking to a crowd of adults, they would all be sitting there, older, 40, 50-year-olds maybe. They would have learned by then that, yes, we understand that we're being manipulated. Well, I was ticked off. I was really upset. I realized I'm being manipulated by my religion. Now, your religion is something you die for, maybe. You think about it. But from the Christian point of view, you believe it so much because you have faith in nothing that you are willing to die for it. People did all the time. So you start thinking, this is just not, wait, this is just too confusing. I've got to do something about this. So as I studied the Jewish roots of Christianity, I went, I'm getting closer to truth here. I see. So then there was Israel. I thought, you know what, I'm going to take a trip to Israel. Now you have to understand, I've traveled a lot in my life, so coming to Israel wasn't necessarily a big event, but okay, I'm checking out Israel. So I came to Israel. I don't know if you ladies, some of you that are born here, but some of you that aren't, have had this experience, but it does happen to many people. You get off the plane, you step on the ground, and whew, you're connected. You are connected to something holy. You don't understand necessarily what's going on, but I felt an empowering being in this land. So several trips later, I ended up making Aliyah, met my husband, we're older when we met, so it wasn't making a new family, but he is born Jewish, so he had a family here. He's got three children here. So we've got grandchildren. And in this process of becoming Jewish, and this is something that Mrs. Levinson spoke about that I thought, this is so very true. The world looks at the Jewish people. Think about it. Even in the media that is so manipulative, what do you see all the time? Everybody's busy about knowing our business here in Israel. Everybody's busy about what's going on. It's not the Middle East. It's not France. It's not even America. Okay? It's not England. It's what's going on with the Jews in Israel. They want to know, why are we doing what we're doing? The world that I come from, if they had a choice, and I'm telling you this sincerely, ladies, please hear this if you don't hear anything else. Well, there's one other thing I want you to hear, but this is among those things that I want you to hear. People from the world I came from would give up their life for a Jew because we are special. When you daven aleinu, you are told how special you are. We walk like everybody else. We talk like everybody else. We go out to eat. We have fun. We have family. It appears that we, especially if we get caught up in the gashmias of what's going on around us, that we lose sight of the fact that we aren't like everybody else. We have a responsibility as Jews. We are special. We are different. We are not goyim. I've been in both worlds. I'm telling you, we're not goyim. We don't think like goyim, that's for sure. And there's a reason that we're set apart, because we have a job to do here on this earth. We've made a decision to be here. Our neshama has made a decision to be here. And we have tachlis what to do here. So these people, especially some of them that are starting to get it in the Goyish world, are praying in their way for the Jewish people. Whatever they're praying, okay, so we can argue about what they're praying, okay, it can be confusing and whatever, but they have a tremendous love for us. No. I'm talking about the world I came from. The Christian world I came from is not the world, okay, that's a good point. It's a good point, but let me put it this way. There is a group within that world that truly love us.
So how did they become Jewish?
Why? Well, so this is you're going to hear in a minute. That's a very good point. What is it about that they love? Because they see from their own text, okay, this they figured out. Because it's over and over and over again, the Jews are the people of God. The Jews are the people of God. The Jews are the chosen people. What does that mean, chosen people? They've got their definition. We have our definition. But chosen to them means we're special, we're set apart, we're different. You're different. You may not like it. You may not be happy with it. But you have a responsibility. You have a responsibility to deal with it. So what do I do now that I'm here in Israel and I'm living my life? I work with other people that want to convert and help them. I'm a life coach, so I work with them to pull them through the trauma, because it's really like going through a keyhole. Sometimes it's like being pulled right through a keyhole, because you're walking away from this world and you're walking into this world. And what is that going to take for you? This world is no longer Jewish. You have no connection with this world. Whether it's my children are not my children. According to halacha, my children are not my children. My grandchildren are not my children. There's nobody there. My sister, nobody. You have to understand, that's the end of that world. When I go back, I have special permission to go back from my Rav. To go back, that I don't get pulled into that world. Why? This isn't Hollywood. We're not living in Hollywood, where there's all these emotional pulls going on. Because I am Jewish and I made that choice, I have a responsibility to live like a Jew and to fulfill the responsibilities as a Jew that I have. It's incumbent upon me. There's no choice. It's what I chose to do, and by making that choice to become Jewish, I bring that to myself. So as I work with these people that are converting, the rabbis have me speak to them, men and women, about, first of all, that they're sincere. We want sincere converts. And secondly, that they understand their responsibility of what they're getting into. Because it's not ho-hum. It's not going to the mall. Not that you can't go to the mall. But in other words, they're leaving a goyish, waspy, some of them, world behind. And they're coming into a world of a lot of responsibility. So they say to me, okay, let me back up a little bit. So I speak to them about the fact that when they come out of the mikveh, because that's part of the physical process of converting, they now have a Yetzer Hara. Think about it. You guys have always had one. All of a sudden now, they're getting one. They didn't have one. What does this mean? They also have a Yetzer Tov. The closer you are to Kedusha, the stronger your Yetzer Hara is. They're going to have things happen to them that have never happened to them before. They're not going to know what hit them. No one told me that when I came out of the mikveh. It took me a year to realize What's happening to me? Why am I worried about this and struggling with that? I never had this issue before. So they had to be prepared to understand life is going to be different. So in this process of helping them make these decisions, to be sure they really want to make this decision, because, they could become a B'nai Noach. There is a world of Goyim, as you were told earlier, of non-Jews that are considered righteous because they believe in one God, that have a place in Olam Haba. They have that choice. I didn't want that choice. People that I talk to don't want that choice. They're fervent. I meet with probably 7 people a month. Now that may not seem like a lot, but I'm one person that rabbis send people to me. And it's increased to say 1 or 2 every other month, to now 7 a month, 8 a month. People are wanting to come into your world. They're wanting to be a part of the Jewish people. Why? Because they see truth. They see truth, and you're sitting with it. You have a bracha, the tremendous bracha. I can't tell you. If I could get up and sing, I would sing you a song of the tremendous bracha that you have of being born Jewish. And the opportunity to make changes. You can elevate food. A goy doesn't even know, what does that mean? Shabbos. What does that mean? They come into Shabbos, and let me tell you, that's the one thing, when I ask them a question, what drew you to Judaism? Shabbos. Powerful. Shabbos is so powerful. We have Hanukkah coming. We're going to have Hanukkah lights and Shabbos lights twice this year. Tremendously powerful. Why do these people say they're coming now? They're coming now because they know the Mashiach is coming. And you don't convert after the Mashiach is here. This is not Hollywood. This is real. This is happening today. In your lifetime, your generation, you're a part of it. You're a part of something huge. So every choice you make as you leave this class, or every decision that you look at and say, which way am I going to go? Am I going to go with the Yetzer Tov that I know really is the right way, or am I going to be pulled by my Yetzer Hara and it's going to pull me this way? It's on for every one of us, but we're all together in it. We all understand each other. So as the times get more and more difficult, because we're all seeing that 10 years ago it was much easier to convert than it is today. So as times get more difficult, it becomes more difficult to convert. These people are having a more and more difficult time to convert. To convert in Eretz Israel is becoming very, very difficult. The government here is putting on restrictions. Halakhic conversions are becoming more and more difficult, which is what we really are working towards, that a person understands that they convert, they have to carry out the mitzvot. It's very, very important. But on the other hand, it's a very encouraging time, because these are quality people. These are special people. These are people you want to be a part of. I wish I could had time to tell you some of the stories, but I don't right now. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to take any questions if anybody has anything they want to ask. Yeah.
How did your children deal with it?
So my kids, you could see I'm an outgoing person. And even though they were raised Christian, I must have done a lousy job, because none of them went that way. And that's just the way it went. Baruch Hashem. And their attitude is, well, that's what Mom's doing. Thank God. So I have a sister in that side of the family. They are fundamentalist Christians, and they're very antagonistic. So I don't visit so much. Pardon me? I'm in touch with my kids, yes. I have permission to be. I'll tell you what, it's a very, very difficult thing.
Usually the daughters do it, the kids do it, not the mothers.
Yeah, I know. Right. But I'll tell you, it's also not only that, but it's also the fact of being reconnected with this world that you've walked away from. You have to be very careful you're not pulled back into that world. And I'm sure you young ladies understand that if there's issues that you have that you're struggling with, You don't tempt it by walking into it and try and say, I'm going to be so strong, I'm going to be able to, overcome this. So it's a very balancing act, very much a balancing act of how much time I spend there, how I deal with them. But yes, I'm in contact. It's a Kiddush Hashem. I wouldn't do a Hillel Hashem. They would think terrible things of Judaism if I just cut them off and walked away. For me. Yeah.
You came to Israel, like, did it happen right away that you, like, wanted to and whatever? Or, like, was it, like, a process?
That I wanted to be in Israel or
No,
to convert?
Convert.
It took me 3 years. It was a 3-year process. Actually, it happened in L.A. I converted a conservative conversion first in Los Angeles at a place in L.A. And unfortunately, the rabbi didn't believe in God. So there I'm sitting as a fundamentalist Christian, very fervent to believe in God, anyway, however that looked out, listening to this man teaching me something that I just was not a happy camper.
Do you remember what was the thing that, like, inspired you that, like, you're going to do this?
That I'm going to do this?
Pushed you, like, to really drive?
The thing that inspired me was what wasn't in Christianity, okay? And as I researched Judaism, the connection God has with his people on a personal level is powerful, very powerful. And that's what I saw. Yeah.
How could it be that there's like an entire world and so many Christians who are believing in something that it's not real? I never quite understood how, like you said, you still have a sister who's still fundamentally Christian. But
Fired.
What is she believing in? Isn't it like so not true?
You have to understand, because you see, this is the hardest thing, as I said, for Jews to understand. Because we think, okay, and this is what I learned from my father. When you work for a government that is, or any government that is into deluding people and getting them to believe something that has no foundation or basis, this is what it is. It's I just lost the word. Not propaganda, but brainwashing. Yes, thank you. It's brainwashing. And you have to understand that when you look at a commercial, or you read a commercial, you see a billboard with a commercial on it, you're being brainwashed to buy that item. When you go to the mall and you see something that you may want, you're being brainwashed and pulled into that store to buy that item. Why? Who cares? Who cares? What difference do colors make and styles make? Well, we're brainwashed to think they matter. So when you take a mass group, look at the Holocaust. Look at that whole situation. That was all about brainwashing. So these people for generations, on one hand, you want the goyim to have something. It's important they have something. You prefer it be a B'nai Noach something. But okay, so the world I come from, it wasn't so bad. It wasn't the Catholic world. This is a totally another thing. Okay, so you have to be careful. You have to be careful. My nephew attacked me when I was there last year and said, how could you have been such a fervent Christian? And you walked away and now you're a fervent Jew. What does that mean? And I had to be very careful how I answered him because he needs his Christian world. I thought, what a simplistic question. Like, I could blow this guy away in 3 seconds. And I thought, but I'm responsible to be careful that I don't hurt this person or destroy his world, because he's not in any place or shape or form to be able to receive an answer I'd like to give him. So I just said, you know what? For you, you're in the world you're supposed to be in. For me, I'm in the world I'm supposed to be in.
What did he say to that?
He said nothing. Because he didn't want to go any further, and he certainly didn't want to delude himself that he was believing in error. So.
How come Jews don't go around teaching the world about that it should be B'nai Noach?
You have to go to another class to learn about that.
Ask me,
That's a different class.
I'll talk to you about that.
That's a long one, yeah.
Can you give maybe some like specific examples of questions that you might have asked your teachers to which they didn't have the answers for?
Well, you would have to know their Bible for it to mean anything to you. So, I mean, I've worked with counter-missionary situations with people that are espousing Christianity that should be the way to go for a Jew. But it mainly had to do with the actual text. Because you see, we look at text and we have Torah Baal Peh, we have layers. They have no layers. You don't understand. There's no layer. They have no interpretation.
They don't have they literally translate it, you're saying?
I'm sorry?
Like their translation is the literal translation?
Well, that's also very difficult because they use the English translation in America. They use the German translation in Germany, the French in France. So what is their text really, what is their foundational text really in? Well, it's in Greek, the New Testament, and the Old Testament is in Hebrew, of which that they massacre because they don't understand cultural, they don't have history, they have nothing. So it'd be very difficult for me to answer your question.
Mainly text that you
But
found.
text I questioned. Yeah, why does it say one thing here and the total opposite somewhere else? The story of Jesus himself has 4 different stories. 4 different stories. Are you telling me because I'm Joe and I looked at it this way and I'm Mary and I looked at it this way that there's different perspective?
No one else.
No, but this is no, but they say no. That's not what it means. I said, well then what does it mean? I don't know what it means, but there's just 4 different stories. So you see, there's no logic, and it's so hard for Jews to understand that. How can you tell me there's no logic? There has to be logic. Why am I going to die for something that has no logic? Yes.
So how is religion lasting for so long?
Why has it lasted for so long? Christianity. I can say, first of all, you don't have responsibility for your sin. So if you do something like not let Jews come to your country to save them during the Holocaust, if you want to hate your brother, it's not taught that you should live like that, but what you do is when you have that feeling and you do those things, you give it over to Yoshki, you give it over to Jesus. It's his problem. Okay? If you understand human psyche, just human psyche, you understand that taking responsibility for our actions is very difficult because there are consequences with your choices. And in the world at large, it takes thinking people to want to make thinking choices. You have to think. You have to check it out. Is this the way I'm going to go or is this the way I'm going to go? I hope that answered it. That's off the top of my head, that's the best I can do. So, sure.
Sorry. Do fundamentalist Christians, do they also have are they very religious? Or I'm saying, I know that there within Christianity there's the very religious Christians, and then there's the more like
Modern.
I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what they are. But
Not so unlike Judaism.
Right.
It's not so unlike, it's because where people are, they tend to go to the path of least resistance. So if you're of a personality or of a background that you want to be sort of involved in your religion, then you are sort of involved. If you want to be very involved, then you hang with people that are very involved.
Because what I'm trying to understand is why would there be these very, very religious Christians? In a way, what's in it for them? Because it's not even like they still have to go to church on Sunday and they still have to I guess follow rules. So it's not even like fun. It's not even like they're like what is the
Okay, it's very much a
But
social
the Arabs
world.
have their
It's
reason
very
for, dying for themselves. They have their
Oh no, Christians also have that.
They
Oh
they
yes,
have it
you
all
get
how-
you get jewels in your crown. Oh yes. When you die and you've got a good record of whatever it is you believe in, depending on which part of Christianity you believe in, you get jewels in your crown.
But you're still dead.
You are so dead. That is so true.
The Jews and Arabs have an afterlife. What they say the Arabs have, whatever it is that they think they have, they believe in something.
Right.
What do they believe in that after they die? What do they believe in? Okay, good, you're religious. What you die, you're over. Okay, now.
I would have to give you a class on theology of Christianity. I mean,
do
it
they
really.
have an Olam Haba, something like that? Do they have?
What they have is they understand the concept of heaven, but when you die, you're dead.
And that's
Okay,
it.
but
That's weird.
no, let me finish. But when you go up to Jesus up there, who's sitting up there, then
dead?
you do, huh?
When you're dead.
You're dead. I'm telling you, it makes no sense. It's going to drive you crazy. The more I try and tell you, the more questions you're going to have.
From Christians. That I don't understand.
Because it's an easy way out. Because it's an easy way out.
When they go up, when their soul goes up.
Wait, what's on you?
It's not a logical.
I'm telling you guys. I'm telling you guys that the more I answer, the more questions you are going to have, because it is so ridiculous that you think this has got to be Sesame Street or some stupid thing going on. I'm telling you, it is. But it's all about their system of how they function. Yeah.
I feel like in today's world, like you said before, the media manipulates them. What's Christmas? It's parties and presents and
Sure.
family time. It's not. What's the meaning? It's not so. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's religious.
It's
so much of the media is
you should have Yad Lachim come in here and try and tell them. But what it is, and I want to leave you with this, that when you understand, when you daven aleinu, that even though you walk and you look, you have hair, you have clothes, you're interested in buying nice coats and good shoes, that even though we look like everybody else in the world, we're not. Because we have questions. We want answers. And we have an opportunity to find the answers to our questions. Our lives are so deep compared to the rest of the world. You can't imagine. There was a very, very famous Bible study teacher that was talking to some friends of mine in the Old City. There's two brothers that own a souvenir shop in the Old City, two Orthodox religious guys. And this woman came and said to them, I want to write a book about Israel and the Jewish people. And they said, okay. And so she said, well, can you help me? Now, this is the top. This is their cream. She wrote this book, and my friend said to me, my 5-year-old knows more than this woman. My 5-year-old. So it's just so very difficult for you to understand. Oh, I'm sorry. The religious Orthodox guy's 5-year-old child knew more than this top of the cream Bible study teacher in the Christian world. So it's just totally a round robin for me to try to explain to you how ridiculous the world is. But to know and for you to understand that if I leave anything here today, that as young women, especially the home you're going to build and the families that you're going to build, to instill all that you have to instill, you have such an amazing schus. Such an amazing schus. Thank you.